Welcome back to the Bridge of Truth. I'm here with Stephanie Azaria, Anthony Citro, my special guest. We're talking about 2012 and the cosmological guideposts pointing to what may actually occurring then. I'm fascinated as a scientist with how the science ties into what is often perceived as just a lot of spiritual mumbo jumbo. And I know that we are moving in, that the entire solar system, and this is scientific truth, is moving into an energy that really only happens about every 13,000 years.
That's right.
So could you please elaborate on that?
Yeah. Every 13,000 years or so, the sun of our solar system aligns with the galactic core of our galaxy, which is a black hole, or that's what they're calling it at this point. It's really a sort of a void that is the source of all that we know. So we could call it source. Mm-hmm. So as our sun aligns with that source, a lot of electromagnetic phenomenon happens, which is why we kind of get the whole story of the poles shifting every time this happens. On some level, they do. Right now, we've very recently, experienced a polar shift within ourselves. Now, the masculine and feminine energies have realigned within ourselves. Not all of us are fully aware of it yet, but it still has happened. This is the same thing, actually, as the whole understanding of what 2012 is. Supposedly the sun is supposed to align with the galactic core on exactly December 21st, 2012. Mm-hmm. The truth of the matter is there's no such thing as time except in 3D. It's technically already occurred.
And that's the big revelation, that everybody's reaching for mass consciousness for this 2012, and the movies and the books, but it's actually already happened. The shift has already started to occur. We are the shift. You know.
And the only time frame we really have is now. That's it. The past and the future exist in this moment, right here, right now. The shift has already occurred, or is about to occur, or is occurring. It's all the same thing. But what we all need to do as a collective is to put our consciousness there, here. Same thing.
And I think that's what people are going through with the last bit of holding pattern and resignation pattern still cropping up in the physical symptoms that are accompanying this. It's not the light coming in, it's the resistance to light awakening channels that are, especially in the legs and into the ground. And
we are technically able now to ascend in our consciousness, to connect with our higher selves, with the higher aspects of ourself, while remaining in physical form. That's never been possible before. That's because of the time we're living in, and because we are bringing that light consciousness, or higher consciousness, light, love, truth, whatever you want to call it. We're bringing it through our bodies into the earth and giving it to the earth. And that's why we're doing it this way. It was an agreement from way, 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 way back.
Which is the Mahatma, generally called the Mahatma, which is the return of the divine feminine, and what's commonly called the goddess energy, and healing the planet and healing Mother Earth.
Now, the late 80s is actually when we began to move into that energy, correct? Mm-hmm.
It's actually, and it all occurred in those few years. We're now 22 years out from the convergence, 22 and a half years from the convergence. It was literally 25 years from that point to 2012.
So what do you think will really happen then in 2012? I mean, is the date really significant? Is something specifically going to happen then?
I don't think so. I think what Derek has stated and other peers have stated, and what you're starting to see, is the dark will rear its ugly head as the light gets brighter. When Jesus walked in with the palm fronds onto the donkey, everybody was like, "Save me, save me." When his light was getting bigger and bigger, they're like, "Crucify him, crucify him." So you're going to have this energy of resistance that's going to rear its ugly head until it, the dark is dying, the poor thing. It's trying to hold on. So once it realizes that it can't, and it starts accepting the light, then things will start to shift. Mm-hmm. It's up to us as light workers, whether you're professional or not, to hold light and love no matter what, and not to feed into fear. And that's what a light worker is, I would say.
Well, this is the shift out of 3D. Yeah, 3D is the world of duality and polarity, so the dark and light coexist here. The truth of the matter is that both are God, both are of source. There is no difference. But the ego, which it's sort of the ego's domain on this planet, the ego His whole purpose is to keep us separate from each other. And when we lose our separation, the ego perceives itself to be dying. And so it is making every effort it can to prevent its own death. But the death of the ego is the birth into the higher self. And if there's enough light on the planet, which we perceive to be our jobs, all of us, any one of us that has any consciousness at all is filled with some kind of light, and that light needs to remain in a love-based state so it keeps shining. The minute it moves toward fear, it moves toward a shadow. It starts to lose its light.
Excuse me, Anthony,
Sure.
But during our break, you actually talked about, in terms of the physical things that were happening, about purifications, the fact that...
Well, I was just going to expound on that if you don't mind.
Because I think we need to
Because I
let
think
our
it's
viewers
important
know
to let
this.
people know, when you get on the spiritual path, the one thing that you learn, and one of the things I love most about Dirk, is all about transformation. It's in the transformation of everything that the magic occurs, because you're in duality no matter what. It's not, you've heard the saying, it's the journey, not the destination. Well, in energy, it's the same thing. It's the transformative process, even when the planets colliding, creating new planets, and the macrocosm, all the way down to the microcosm of what you're going through in your life, how you come together with your dark and light, and you transform and grow, and how that reverberates and has an osmosis effect on everybody around you. What the rising star does is it brings you to the fullness of what that is, so you can reverberate the light stronger and stronger and stronger, and therefore more and more can. And this is what is bringing us to our ascension.
There's also the More Truth Will Set You Free workshop, which is a way to come into the rising star energy in a more generalized format. The rising star is a one-on-one healing modality, which when you're ready, helps you to clear out your entire system.
Or initiation.
You can be initiated as a practitioner as well, which is a very, very powerful initiation. But the healing modality prepares you to clears you out on all the levels of your being, and it prepares you for the ascension process. The More Truth moves you into that energy and helps you.
The last thing I'd like to say before we move on is a lot of people are suffering. I mean, I know people in the health field, and the offices are filled. And we have experienced...
They're going into fear from their physical symptoms of their light body activation. They don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So if they're experiencing pains and cramps in their legs, they don't realize that it's the energy literally trying to work through the channels of the legs into the sole's feet, into the ground, and it's like waking up.
There are many symptoms: headaches, heart palpitations, flu-like symptoms, nausea.
Not sleeping too much.
All those symptoms.
But the planet is also manifesting some very, very serious illnesses.
Yeah, well, a lot. Well, that's another thing.
That's a whole other topic.
Some of the souls on this planet, there are 6 billion souls on the planet at least, and some of them are going to choose to remain in 3D. They don't want to move into their higher selves, whatever the higher self is. It's not a conscious choice that we make in our heads, but it's more of a choice that the higher self, which is eternal, makes. So if at the highest level of your being you know you're going to live eternally, and you're having an experience in 3D, then it may very well be that your higher self says, you know what, I'm not finished with the 3D experience. I don't want to move into 5D yet. I don't want to move into a more collective, energy-based, love-based, community-based experience. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. Those souls all have to leave this planet because the planet will no longer support 3D life in a very short time.
Well, that's perhaps another show.
Yeah,
And
but that's what a lot of that illness is about. People are manifesting ways to leave the planet at the highest level of
What
their
I'd
being.
like to do is to let our viewers know that if they have questions about this, they can contact both of you. Stephanie, you have a wonderful site. Maybe you can tell us about that just for a minute.
Yeah, I have an astrology website called thecosmicpath.com, and it is a place where everybody comes. I talk daily about what's going on, and there's also all kinds of interesting information on there. And also on there I feature a new system of astrology that I'm forging, which is I'm calling it the Cosmic Path of Initiation. It's a galactic form of astrology that isn't really anything like regular astrology. What it does is it helps the individual to focus their being on the now and work to clear their karmic situation in any given moment. It's a very sort of spiritually based astrology that moves us from the earth-based experience to this experience of being in a solar system and being eternal higher beings that are moving back toward that higher consciousness. So it helps to clear away the density that keeps you stuck. So I do personal readings and all kinds of things, so come to my website and you can find me there.
And Anthony, you're part of a wonderful organization in New York. Can you take a minute to tell us about
well, I work for a wonderful spiritual visionary. I would call him Omar Ibrahim, who is at the point of his involvement where he wants to turn all his corporate resources and business resources to bring and unite all paths together, spirituality and oneness. So we've created this Universal Consciousness, which is a not-for-profit organization that sort of handles that on a humanitarian level. On the metaphysical level, we have the Alignment Center, which is a actual physical building in the Flower District, West 28th Street, which is an ascension anchoring center, basically. And we offer, and Stephanie has done many wonderful workshops there, healings, and it's all about anchoring the ascension energies fully in New York as one of the spaces that do it. There's, of course, others. And it's just, there's no place like it in New York. It's amazing. I mean, it's just wonderful. So if you, we're just new, we're just starting. So if you want to visit our website, it's because my personal website is ascensionalignment.com, and the organization is alignmentcenter.org. So it's all about aligning everything. We're all about that, which is one of the attracted to you and your website, and that same concept. Everything's, all these loose threads are coming together, and people who are aware are bringing it forward, and Omar is one of those beings. So I count myself very lucky to work for him and to serve the mission and my teacher and the family in any way that I can, or any being of light. And it's a wonderful...
Well, speaking of my website, both of you will have a page there about the show, and there'll be links for people to connect to you.
Great.
And I also invite both of you to become part of Enter the Bridge, our online community that's hopefully going to promote creating a better world.
Great.
And I'd like to thank all of you for watching. I'll be back in a moment. Music on the flip side.